Check out how awesome these floors turned out. We used a green apple base and black highlights with the roller to blend it all together. Stay tuned to see the process from beginning to end.
Before we get started on today's video, we wanted to let you know that we're on our way to 800,000 subscribers, and we've noticed that a huge percentage of you guys that watch our videos every week are not subscribed to our channel. It only takes seconds out of your day to press that subscribe button, especially if you enjoy this content. We launch videos every week so you can get notified every time there's a new one. Thanks for all your support. We hope you enjoy the video.
All right, notice we already have the primer down, and now like we do, we're getting ready to spread out the base coat. So we've mixed up the base coat. This is our bright green metallic. Black is actually a great primer underneath bright green. Don't have time to get into all the details of why, but it always makes a very good base coat or primer coat underneath this as a base coat. So we just want to kind of pour the base coat out evenly across the area where you're coating. And then that means you don't have to move a pile all the way across the floor. That's all we're doing. And our philosophy is move 90% of the pile around, quickly with a squeegee, and then just allow it to level out once you cross roll it with a roller. So that's what we're doing here. So we're focusing on the edges. Tyler's focusing on the edges. He's got spikes on, so he's not worried about walking on anything. When you're wearing spikes, be real flat-footed. Don't lean over too much. You want to be careful because they can be slippery. But he's really just focusing on the perimeter and then kind of lightly, releasing the pressure and then feathering it out. And by the time he's done, he'll probably kind of gone over this area quickly a couple times, and he'll know where the thin spots are, where the thick spots are. But really just getting that perimeter done first makes it a lot easier when you're working on these floors. And then you can kind of really focus on the middle. And notice if he pushes too hard or doesn't have enough epoxy, you can kind of see through the primer where you notice the black starting to come through. And by the time you're walking on this floor and you're working with the resin, you can kind of feel and see where the high spots are, where the low spots are. It's too thin, too thick. And don't get too crazy here and worry and think it has to be perfect. The roller is going to do a lot of the work here in terms of making sure that this floor is perfectly, distributed. Just get most of the resin spread out, and then the roller will do most of the work. And notice there's kind of black splotches all over the place. That's fine. And so what you want to do is you want to soak up the roller, and where you first start on the floor, wherever you put that roller, you always want to put it where it's the thickest, because that roller is going to soak up a bunch of resin, and you don't want to pull even more product off the thin spots on the floor. So just kind of roll it around randomly and try to get that roller soaked up with the thick spots on the floor. Once you've done that, you're going to just go from wall to wall all the way across, and then we're going to cross roll after that. Now this roller's already been de-shed, which means we rolled it on a piece of Scotch tape on the sticky side and just removed any fibers. There's very expensive rollers out there that claim to be, shed proof. We haven't seen them. We have yet to see them. Foam rollers don't work very well either. They don't distribute and roll very well on the epoxy. Now, he rolled left and right, and now he's just kind of distributing it the other way. And you can really see how by the time that roller just glides on the surface, he's not applying any pressure. It's just gliding on the surface. And notice where he's already been, it just levels out beautifully. Now, when you're cross rolling that second layer, you've already rolled one direction, you start rolling the other direction. That's when somebody wants to mix this up, mix the highlights up. And now in this technique, it's kind of just randomly pouring out these long kind of veins, and you're trying to be random about it. You don't want too much of a pattern. You want it somewhat natural looking by the time you're done with the floor and you're swirling the floor. And we want to get some near the edges as well. because you want to make it look like it's kind of going underneath your walls, you know, and it looks like it's disappearing. It's almost like if you go into the next room, you'd think you'd see the floor in there. And then you can just push the piles around. So you'll notice there'll still be some more concentrated amounts near the piles. This technique kind of leaves a concentrated amount of highlight color in one area. If you want it more distributed, you would kind of spread it out more when you're dumping it out. But notice how he'll start at a pile and then kind of push it out around it to help feather it out a little bit into the green. Now, this epoxy is so beautiful. We've designed it to self-marbleize and move for quite a few hours, even when you're done swirling it. So when it'll still have a very natural, beautiful marbleized look, but you still want to help it by at least pushing it and telling it, you know, I want some black over here, I want more amounts of green over here. That's where you're going to control the look with the roller here. That's how you're going to get the design. And notice how he's just moving from one side of the floor to the other side of the floor, and then he'll just work his way off that floor. You don't want to jump around too much. You kind of want to work yourself out of the room. Otherwise, it could get a little awkward. Paint yourself into a corner, as they would say. Now, when you're about halfway done with one of these sections, that's where you would want someone to start mixing the base coat for the next section. So it takes a little bit of time to do one section, but not long. So about halfway through the swirling process, you want somebody to just pour that part B into the part A and really start getting that mixed up. And so when Tyler's done, he could essentially set that roller, lean it up against the wall, grab the squeegee, start spreading out the next section. And then after he adds highlights, he'll kind of swirl, 5 or 6 inches into this first section that he'd finished and get it to kind of blend together. And again, you'll never see that line the next day. This self-marbleizes really, really well. We've designed it for that. Now he's just putting bigger drops of isopropyl alcohol on it just to create kind of a dispersing effect, especially where the colors really fade out into the green. It has a kind of a beautiful effect. It helps the metallics marbleize and move even more. And we thought it would be kind of cool on this floor. You don't have to use this. It'll look beautiful either way. It's just kind of artistic discretion, whatever you want to try, whatever you want to use. And I believe, we left some of it to not have those drops. So this is the next day, and notice those drops, kind of the look of that marbling that happens in those spots. They kind of give it a crazy look. And then when you go over on the part of the floor to the right, notice how there's no drops. So that's kind of the difference between the two. You'll get a smoother look without those drops, just a little bit different, a little bit smoother. And then you go in right here where you really begin to see the drops. It's just a little more radical. So you get to see kind of two looks right there.